So, good day everyone. Our topic today is all about the challenges of the Fillenials. So, first of all, the word Fillenial is Filipino Millennials in Filipino term. So, proceed na agad tayo sa next slide. So, question number 1. As a Fillenial, do you think that the many accessible technological resources is more of a help or a distraction? So, for me, as a millennial, I think that the many accessible technological resources is more of a help because nowadays we probably know that most of us what is new use are the technology to facilitate our daily life. So halimbawa na lamang dito ay yung digital technology. So kapag sinabi natin digital technology, that this is the tools or system and devices that we use to work or communicate sa mga tao minamahal mo sa buhay. So kaya masasabi ko na the many accessible technological resources is more of a help for me. Um, Number two, as a millennial, do you get new skills and new knowledge on the uncensored web technology or just a new addiction that will ruin your focus? So, as a millennial, I get new skill and new knowledge on the uncensored web technology. So number three, as a millennial, what gives you more pressure, stress, or tension? So as a millennial, stress give me more pressure. Lahat naman siguro dito sa atin nakakaranas ng stress, bata man o matanda. Pero kung hindi ka nakakaranas ng stress or tension, magpakonsulta na po agad kayo sa doktor. Baka po kasi malala na yan. So, joke lang po yun. So, nakakaranas tayo ng stress because of social anxieties and ito, have a workloads, parents or problem at home at marami pang iba. So, number 4, how do you respond on the set pressure, stress, or tension? So to respond to stress, you have to take some time to think about the situation you're facing and always just focus on your positive action, not your negative action. So, number 5, honestly, do you plan ahead or let anything go on your way? So, yes, I plan ahead. It's better to prepare than not planning anything. Example, when a typhoon is coming, so it's better to plan ahead to where you should go, what you should do para sa ikabubuti mo. So planning ahead is better. Kumbaga sa Pilipino, kailangan advance ka mag-isip para sa ikabubuti mo. So proceed na tayo sa next slide. Sa introduction na tayo. So much has been said about the millennials generation is I about the millennial generation, entitled and impulsive, ambitious yet lazy. So, classic narcissists who refuse to grow up. The word millennial itself has continuously been used in the media to discredit the belittle this entire group of individuals born between 1981 to 1996. So, millennial generation are the demographic cohort directly following the Generation X. It also known as a Generation Y or the Net Generation. This group is the first global centric generation, having come of age during the rapid growth of the internet and increase in global terrorism. They are among the most resilient in navigating change while deepening their appreciation for diversity and inclusion. So bakit nga ba sila tinawag na entitled and impulsive, ambitious and yet lazy? Because they are the younger generation and every generation believes believes the one coming after it is lazy, unfocused, entitled, undisciplined, etc. That just the way it works. Check out what people are saying about the baby boomers back in the 50s and 60s. Nobody was extolling their impressive work ethic and commendable attitude. So, regardless of the negative reputation, millennials in general seems to effortlessly attract. The fact the fact remains that they will soon dominate the workforce with a population of 25 million strong Filipino. Millennials or Fillenials are re- ready to shake and reshape the country economic landscape. So, next slide. According to 2015 census by the Philippine Statistic Authority, millennial comprise 53% of the working age population, with 45% employed. The staggering rate at which they descend on jobs means that they also have a growing purchase power. Business must learn how to better market their brands to this young consumer whose behaviors and ideals are drastically different from previous generation. To successfully capture a stable millennial market base, one must first understand what they value, which is central to how they behave. Their characteristics, after all, are not just randomly selected option in a checkbox. They stem from principle of millennials respect and then despite how millennials are often viewed as the me generation obsessed with selfies and the perfect Instagram shot, they are actually politically and socially engaged. So, next slide tayo. So, the Filipino youth are considered are as the most valuable resources of the country. So, dito naman sinasabi na ang Filipino youth daw ay isa sa mahalaga na resources of the country. So, bakit nga ba mahalaga ang youth sa isang country? Because so because youth is the one of the lead as a leadership of the advanced technology, education, politics, peace of the country also involved the socializing. Socializing. The Youth in Nation Building Act, Republic Act 8044, which was enacted in 1995, established the Nation Youth Commission and the National Comprehensive and Coordinate Program on Youth Development. This act defined the Filipino youth as those with age 15 to 30. Currently, the Philippines have projected 85.2 million population. The youth comprises more than 40% of the total population. Of these, 21% are enrolled in high school, tertiary and vocational schools. 22% are young patients, 21% are contractual young workers in the urban areas, 36% are unemployed and out of school, and 4% are working student. Um, Next reporter na po tayo.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Aila Nogales. From slide number 6, Republic Act number 8044, an act creating the National Youth Commission, establishing a national comprehensive and coordinated program on youth development, appropriating funds therefore and for other purposes. Be it enacted by the Senate and House of Representative of the Philippines in Congress assembled. Section 1, title, This Act shall be known as the Youth and Nation Building Act. Section 2, Policy, the state recognizes its responsibility to enable the youth to fulfill their vital role in the nation building and hereby establishes the National Comprehensive and Coordinated Program on Youth Development, create the structures to implement the same and appropriate dedicate funds to provide support for the program and implementing structures on a continuing, sustained basis. From slide number 7, the state hereby declares that youth is the critical period in a person's growth and development from the onset of adolescence toward the peak of mature, self-reliant, and responsible adulthood, comprising the considerable sector of the population from the age of 15 to 30 years. Pagsisimula ng pagdadalaga o pagbibinata or sa edad na 15 to 30 years is alam na natin kung ano yung tama at mali at may mga responsibilidad na tayo na dapat natin gawin. The state further declares the National Comprehensive and Coordinated Program on Youth Development shall be based on the following principle: A. Promotion and protection of the physical, moral, spiritual, and intellectual and social well-being of the youth to the end that the youth realize their potential for improving, which is ito ay ang pagtaguyod at protektahan ang values ng bawat isa at para mas mapaintindi sa mga kabataan ang kahalagahan para ma-improve ang kanilang buhay. Implication in the youth of patriotism, nationalism, and other basic desirable values infuse in them faith in the Creator, believe in the sanctity of life and dignity of the human person, conviction for the strength and unity of the family, and adherence to truth and justice. Dito naman is pagpapahalaga ng mga kabataan sa ating bayan. Naturuan tayo na mahalin at pahalagahan ito. Slide number 8. Letter C, encouragement of youth involvement in character building and development activities for civic efficiency, stewardship of natural resources, agricultural and industrial productivity, and an understanding of world economic commitments on tariffs, on trade, and participation in structures for policy making and program implementation to reduce the incidence of poverty and accelerate socio-economic development. So dito, importante na dapat magka-interes ang mga kabataan dito para hindi mapariwara ang buhay nila in case na mawala ang parents nila. Kailangan na may alam sila sa mga trabaho, professional man o unprofessional, kasi ang buhay ay weather lang. So, letter D is mobilization of youth's abilities, talents, and skills, and redirecting their creativity, inventive genius, and wellspring of enthusiasm and hope for the freedom of our people from fear, hunger, and justice. Dito ay parang ito ay ang paghasa sa abilidad ng mga kabataan para sa better future. So, from slide number 9, 83% of Filipino youth are still heavily reliant on their parents for advice as compared to 73% globally. Dito is kahit na mayroon na tayong anak or asawa, or halimbawa nasa 30 tayo or 20, ganon, is need pa rin natin yung ating pamilya or advicean tayo or payuhan tayo kung anumang problema na pinagdadaanan natin. However, Filipino youth believe that 30 is the age at which it stopped being socially acceptable to live with parents 2 years younger than the global average of 32. So dito naman, which is dito kasi parang pag nasa 30 ka na is parang may asawa ka na or may trabaho ka na, kaya Siyempre, siyempre wala ka na, hindi ka na nasa poder ng magulang mo, parang may expect na meron ka ng bahay, pero may mga tao pa ring gano'n yung edad pero nasa pamilya pa rin. Pero yun nga, mas ano pa rin, mas paniniwala pa rin na 'pag nasa 30 ka na is wala ka na sa poder ng pamilya mo or hindi ka na dun nakatira. 22% of Filipino youth have written a negative comment about somebody they know, higher than the Asia Pacific average of 16%. Kasi karamihan sa taong Pilipino ay mayroong toxic trait. Kasi for example, dito sa amin, kasi may na-encounter ako na kabuti ang pakikitungo mo sa kanila or gaano ka pa buti sa kanila yung pinapakita mo, pero kapag nakatalikod ka na is may masasabi pa rin silang mali or negative para sa'yo. Parang hinahata ka nila pababa dahil sa sobrang insecure, siguro gano'n. Kaya mas pinapairal nila yung inggit nila kesa suportahan nila yung kapwa nila. So, 61% of Filipino youth feel pressured to portray themselves in the best way possible on social media. So, dito is, kasi may mga kabataang ganito dahil kulang sila ng confident na ipakita ang tunay na kung ano sila. 1 in 2 Filipino youth say that seeing their friends post on social media can make them feel inadequate. So, dito is, most of the Filipino youth experience this because they are not confident with their abilities. Wala silang believe sa sarili nila, kaya nafe-feel nila yon. Tsaka, dahil sa social media, kaya nagiging insecure ang mga tao o mga kabataan ngayon kasi ang mga pinopost is mga toxic lang. 96% feel that we all have a responsive contribution to the community we live in, higher than the global average 89%. So, dito naman is, masasabi ko lang is, kahit na gaano pa karami or nakapalibot sa'yo na negatibo na mga tao or mga toxic na people, is kailangan na lang nating maging positive or responsibilidad na lang natin na ibigay ang pagiging positibo na tao para ganun, para hindi na tayo magaya sa kanila yung pagiging negative na tao. 26% of Filipino youth want to be remembered as a person who has changed the world. Dito ay ang bawat isa sa atin ay ng mga kabataan gusto natin makilala tayo as tayo dahil sa abilidad na meron tayo ngayon.
Millennials are generally the children of baby boomers and older Gen-Zers. Fillenials is a term used to denote the Filipino Millennials, aka Generation Y or the Next Generation, the demographic cohort directly following Generation X. Instead of generation, which some psychologists thus consider millennials, including Fillenials, to be part of what is called Generation Me. Millennials are Millennials are also labeled as the Boomerang Generation or Peter Pan Generation. Good morning, sir. In her book, The Crowded Nest Syndrome, Kathleen Chaputis called millennials the Peter Pan generation. Because of their tendency to delay adulthood, Chaputis noted that many of the Peter Pan generation are living with their parents for no longer period than any other generation in recent history. Down the road at Brigham Young University, One study found that today college students define adulthood as something that is based on personal abilities and characteristics, as opposed to my generation definition that adulthood is based on certain traditional rites of passage. BYU's Dr. Larry Nelson also noted that some millennials may be delaying the transition from childhood to adulthood in attempt to avoid some mistake, divorce, career, unhappiness, etc. that were made by their parents. Millennials are called the Peter Pan generation, where they delay their point of adulthood. Next, Fillenials are the Filipino Millennials. They they are a most puzzling phenomenon in the generation of humans that have ever come to be. Born at the dawn of a new age between 1980 to 2000, they are the first digital natives. They are socially connected via multiple devices and are in some instance bordering on the obsessed with social media as with selfies. In the Philippines, one-third of the population is made up millennials who are 15 to 35 years old. Filipino who were born at the dawn of the new age are mostly socially connected and are easily influenced by social media. Filipino millennials in particular are known to be very active in social media. It has been reported that millennials are digital natives and has grown up amidst social networks and changes in the technology. Rappler 2016. They are the ones who are highly visible in the all media platform, raising concern in a lot socio-political concern of the country. They are the same generation which gave rise to movements such as the Arab Spring and Wall Street. Putting it in the Philippines setting, the millennials are the same group of people who started volunteering during the onslaught of Typhoon Haiyan in the Philippines. The power that gave rise to the 1 million March protest against the Priority Development Assistance Fund (PDAF) scandal, the huge voice opposing former President Ferdinand Marcos burial at the libingan ng mga bayani, and majority of them were also the same people who elected President Rodrigo Duterte as the Philippine 16th president. The Filipino millennials made an impact mostly to socio-political concern of the country and became an influence to give rise different movements.
So, good day everyone. So, the Arab Spring was a series of anti-government protests, uprising, and armed rebellions that spread across much of the Arab world in the early 2010s. It began in response to corruption and economic stagnations and was influenced by the Tunisian Revolution. So, Fillenials are the Filipino millennials born at a dawn of a new age between 1980s to 2000. So, they are the first digital native millennials. It's a very active and social media that why we call them as a digital native. You can see some of the same in 2011 where protester in Madrid, Santiago, and Madison have very different demands, but increasingly recognize one another by their common alienation from power and expressions in new symbols. The internet is critical here, not just for the worlds that can be shared, but the ways in which new images fueled identifications, bringing visual parallel to all the movements facing for a global change with something so simple as this. So it is time for us to unite, and it's time for them to listen. So activists and analysts increasingly join the Arab Spring. They join for the Arab Spring with Occupy Wall Street, and some now recognize this historical juncture to have more in common with the transformative social movement of 1968 than with 1989, the year in which East European dictatorships were overturned by democratically driven civil societies. Shifting comparative from pros for 2011, from 1989 to 1968. So it is helpful on a number of scores for thinking historically, theoretically, and strategically. So it can help us to refrain our expectation for global transformation too. For now, it is not only a matter of drafting constitutions, but of re-articulating solidarity across the world. One of the causes why the Arab Spring is uprising numerously factors led to the protests or those people frustrated by the government issue such as human right violations and political corruption, economic economic decline, unemployment, extreme poverty, and a number of demographic and structural factors, such as a large percentage of educated but dissatisfied youth within the entire populations. So in Arab Spring protests, a considerable amount of attentions focused on the role of a social media and digital technologies in allowing citizens within areas affected by the Arab uprising. So protesters were motivated by many factors, but analysts says a common theme was a push for a dignity and human rights in many countries. Religions tensions also play a significant role. For instance, Islamist parties gained power in formerly secular Tunisians and Egypt, although only temporarily in the later. Meanwhile, deep sectarian divisions helped give rise to the anti-government movements in Bahrain, Syria, and Yemen. Only Tunisia made a lasting shift to democracy, whereas Egypt backslid and Libya, Syria, and Yemen spiraled into protracted civil wars. So many of the uprising were led by students and other young people frustrated by government and corruptions. By government corruptions and the lack of economic opportunities. Youth unemployment in the region remains the highest in the world and has worsened in several countries, rekindling protests in some cases. So the influence of social media and political activisms, the use of social media platforms more than double in countries not only in Arab during the protests. This has immense power to support collective actions. Social media play role in the movement of activists. Through this, they use it to spread awareness. So next, Wall Street is used as an umbrella term to describe the financial markets and the companies that trade publicly on exchanges throughout the U.S. Wall Street has been the historic headquarters of some of the largest U.S. brokerages and investment bank, and is also the home of New York Stock Exchange. For additional information, the physical location of Wall Street is in the lower Manhattan, where the New York Stock Exchange is held. So the streets, the refers to a long gun walls that was created in the 17th century by the settlers intent on keeping out the British and pirates. Additionally, beyond the street itself, the name Wall Street has become the synonymous with the financial world and America's financial center in the New York City. So next, young people are speaking up and taking actions to address the world's challenges to help sharpen and elevate their activism. The Millennial Manifesto presents 6 guiding principles. Read the report Davos Labs. So I just wanted to read with you the contents of Youth Recovery Plan of Davos Labs. So young people are the most affected demographic when it comes to the world's rising socioeconomic, political, and environmental crisis. Yet they are also the best place to lead the transition to more equitable world. So this is one of the key findings of the world's first youth-driven recovery plan developed by the World Economic Forum's Global Shapers Community, a network of 14,000 inspiring young people driving dialogue, action, and exchange, marking the community's 10th anniversary. Today, plan features 40 policy recommendations to help policymakers integrate the voices of the next generation into recovery efforts. So its future the insights and ideas of more than 2 million people who participated in surveys and dialogue in more than 150 cities in 180 countries. This plan encompasses their hopes for a better future. So, 10 years ago, the Arab Spring and Occupy Wall Street made the world wake up to the increasing generational divide and the power of youth activisms. Now, a decade later, as young people face the worst of the world, increasing socio-political and environmental crisis, they are again inspiring change and taking actions. Tired of accusation of young people being the problem, so they are determined to be the solutions. So they are demanding the world leaders and businesses increase equity, protect our planet, and ensure that no one is left behind. And they are taking the lead in providing ideas, innovation, and initiative to do so. So I can say that uh, the world needs young people to step up to address the many other challenges ahead of us. But hurdles remain. While the last decade saw the power of the youth activisms to highlight and approach systemic problems, and it also show that young people face challenges of experience and credibility. So here is our commitments to creating positive change. So first is we will create a space for intergenerational dialogue. So it means we will listen and learn from one another, past, present, and future. We will respect the global context and that all parts of the world coexist. We will share learnings to avoid replication. We will test, iterate, and improve our approach to become a better leaders and ancestor. So when we say intergenerational dialogues are interactive participating forums that bring together older and younger generations and are intended to share knowledge and meaning and a collective experience. So this is so important. Well, the advantages of bringing the experience. So the advantages of bringing the experience, wisdom, and skills of different peoples, different generation is priceless. The kind of a collective intelligence, share meaning among generations can help us to build peaceful and also empathic societies. So next is we will ask big questions to advance bold solutions. So we will take the time to learn why structures are the way they are and to know our community's histories. Before we take actions, we will recognize that co-creations begins with the consultations to understand systems. So we will make decision making information accessible to be truly inclusive. So that we should always know the things before we take actions that can help you be a better leaders for you to understand everything. So next is we will pursue systems change and collective actions. We will build bridges within and across communities to strengthen the structure that work and dismantle those that don't. We will set ambitious goals and move from talk to actions. We will focus on the local changes that can lead to global transformations and celebrate our progress. So this is the solutions of having a better communities and also for the innovation. And next is that we will make space for diverse life experiences. So we will build authentic relationship with communities most impacted by inequities and injustices. We will acknowledge why we care about issues and who we are in relationship to them. We will join forces, share power, and make decisions in open. Having a positively strong community is important for everyone. Building a strong relationship with others, to our community peers, can make a positive impact in what is going on in our community regarding everyone's happiness. So next is we will embrace uncomfortable conversations. We will surrender our privilege and give everyone a seat at the table. We will engage to listen, understand, and co-create solutions. We will create brave spaces for ideas to be heard, questions, and challenged. So we will recognize the complex intersectionality of social change. Having a good relationship is important for the community. People coming together and voicing our one opinion is much stronger than one solo voice standing on its own. Embracing uncomfortable conversation is definitely important. Like example in employee, an uncomfortable conversation that encourages employees to voice their thoughts and be heard in a way they may have never experienced before. It provides opportunities to implement practical, progressive activities that build a more inclusive environment. And of course, the last is we will care for ourselves, others, and of course, our ecosystem. So we will be kind and considerate. We will practice self and community care. We will safeguard mental health and well-being. We will find balance between patience and impatience. We will be authentic, vulnerable, and radically inclusive. We will protect our planet and the common future. So, being considerate is being polite and caring. It is certainly a good career move. It makes the person concerned feel loved and respected. It makes the world a better place to live in. Also, showing community, for example, participating, volunteering, attending events that help for the resilient community with the knowledge and understanding that we all experience times of vulnerability. A shared sense of responsibility is created, and also being authentic help us build deeper connections with others.
Let's proceed to page 20. Getting to know the Fillenials. Millennials do have contrasting characteristics compared to the previous generations, given the advancement in technology, the dynamics and rapid changes in the international community. Millennials tend to be more socially aware in their surrounding and to the community that they belong to, as they were exposed to significant societal changes globally, such as the start and peak of globalism, terrorism attacks such as the September 11 bombing, and internet age. Some of the traits attributed to millennials nowadays are being civic-minded, they highly value and balance their respective works and lives, able to conduct multitasking and team-oriented, which draws differences with the other generations. Next is, I want to do the things on my own terms, he quotes, the basic premise of millennial decision making. So whatever decision that is, it must be my own, not influenced by anyone. If I fail, based on that decision, okay lang, decision ko yan eh. I accept it and I learn from it. Alam naman natin na ang mga millennial ay nakakapag-desisyon na sa kanilang buhay. At kung ano man ang desisyon nila, yun ay kagustuhan nila at hindi kagustuhan ng ibang tao. At kung sakali mang mag-fail ang desisyon nila, tanggap nila yun and meron silang lesson na makukuha doon. Like for example, kunyari may nililigawan kang babae, tapos 50-50 kung sasagutin ka niya, pero decision mo na ipagpatuloy yung pangliligaw mo sa kanya. Tapos in the end, nag-fail yung panliligaw mo, pinaasa ka lang, at dahil sa decision mong yun, meron ka doong natutunan para sa sarili mo at tatanggipin mo yun ng buo kasi yun kagustuhan mo. Next is, the worst thing that you can tell a millennial is you cannot do it. He continues, to them, that is violating the very being of what they stand for. They want and they must find out things for themselves. They appreciate advice and they appreciate encouragement, and they appreciate leads and they appreciate guides. Siguro maiilan sa atin na nakaranas na ng sabihan ng ganitong na hindi natin kaya, na minamaliit ang pagkatao natin, na imbis na tulungan tayo itaas, pero mas lalo tayong hinahatak pababa, na dahil sa violate nilang sinasabi sa atin, na naapektuhan ng ating paninindigan sa buhay, na hindi nila alam na sa panahon ngayon na mas ina-appreciate natin ang kanilang advice, ang guides, at yung encouragement nila na kaya natin lagpasan ang lahat ng bagay. By 2025, millennials are estimated to account for 72% of the global workforce. This means that the attitudes and traits of these self-involved, self-taking individuals are what will be shaping various industries, both as workers and consumers. That's why so much extensive research is being done to get a better picture of them. Next, how the pandemic made a difference to the lives of millennials. The impact of the coronavirus pandemic on incomes and livelihood has made millennial and Generation Z or Gen Z Filipinos aware of their financial health, pushing them to save for future needs. According to a survey conducted by manufacturers life insurance, what we found through the study is that the pandemic actually has been a game changer for these two generations. They have become much more financially conscious because their top stressor or their number one worry during this time is running out of money, said Melissa Henson. Dahil nga sa kawalan ng income or pagkakakitaan, apektado tayo financially. So, pag apektado na tayo financially, na-stress na tayo or nag-worry na baka ngayon or bukas or sa susunod pang bukas na maubusan na ng ipon or savings at hindi natin alam kung saan tayo kukuha dahil nga sa pandemya na lahat ay sarado ang mga establishmento or mga pwedeng pagkakakitaan tulad ng wala pang pandemya. How else do you think the pandemic affected the Fillenial society? For me, I think the pandemic affected the Fillenial society was mental health or mental illness. Kasi marami tayong nababalitaan ngayon na merong nagpapakamatay dahil na meron nang inaatake ng kanilang anxiety at depression dahil hindi na nakakalabas ng bahay, hindi na nagagawa yung mga bagay na nagagawa noon na alam naman natin na more on outside activities ang mga Fillenials. At dahil nga sa pandemyang ito, kaya sa tingin ko naapektuhan ang mental health ng mga Fillenials dahil hindi ito ang mundo na ating kinasanayan or kinagisnan. Where the changes in you brought the pandemic, being a Fillenial more in a positive or negative aspect. The COVID-19 pandemic has impacted many people's lives, including mine. I believe it is in a positive light. This made me more aware of my health, the safety of my family, my future, and my entire being. This has taught me to spend time with my family and taking time to reflect on my own feelings. That's all. Thank you.
Hi sir, my name is Vincent Grecia. Today I will be reporting my part on the lesson 14, the challenges of the millennials. So, continuing how the pandemic made a difference to the lives of millennials. The statement said that the survey also shed light on the financial product types that the millennials and Gen Z owned, with insurance coming out on top at 79% for millennials and 68% for Gen Z. In other words, the survey clarifies the types of financial products owned by millennial and Gen Z, where insurance comes in with higher percentage for the millennials than for the Gen Z. Government saving programs or bonds came second at 78% and 50% respectively, while cryptocurrency was third at 60% and 40%. So it is the same with the bonds or government saving programs and cryptocurrency. The survey, which covered 200 millennial respondents born from 1981 to 1996 and 300 Gen Z respondents aged 15 to 24 years old, found that this generation prioritized staying healthy and avoiding illness, with the majority of 87% saying they want to save in case something might happen to them. So, the reason why there is a higher penetration for all products among millennials is because they've been financially independent for longer and earning longer than Gen Z. Popular saving methods include putting away money every pay period or every month of 82% and following a monthly budget with 75%. It is said that one of the popular ways to save is to save money during each pay period. As we have learned in the past, health concerns lead to greater financial concerns. Plus, the economy and its effect on the job loss has led them to shift their priorities a little bit and focus on needs rather than wants, said Mrs. Sensa. So, health concerns lead to a greater financial concern, meaning we have to avoid health risks to also avoid having financial problem. At dahil sa pagkawala ng trabaho ng mga tao epekto ng pandemya, mas prioridad nila ang mas talagang pangangailangan nila. Despite the focus on spending on necessities, findings reveal that members of Gen Z tend to reward themselves more, citing declining mental health due to exposure to toxic social media and peers getting ahead. On the other hand, working respondents express more concern over debt and job loss. So, Gen Z is more concerned about financial wellness, where millennials are focused on financial being. To deal with stress, 84% of all respondents cited sleep as a coping mechanism, with 76% saying they cope by enjoying proper meal. Interestingly, the survey found that around 25% of Gen Z purchase K-pop merchandise. So, meaning of coping mechanism is coping mechanism are the strategies people often use in the face of stress or trauma to help them manage painful or difficult emotions. And the Gen Z respondents purchase K-pop merchandise is because it gained comfort from collecting merchandise of their idols. So, 84% of the respondents' coping mechanism is to sleep, and the 76% respondents' coping mechanism is to enjoy a proper meal. As a generation born digitized world, Gen Z has also made inroads in pursuing financial security earlier, with the average Gen Z starting to save at 17 years old and starting to invest at 21 years old. Meanwhile, millennials surveyed starting saving only at 22 years old and investing at 27 years old. So, adult members of Generation Z or Gen Z are more focused on saving and gaining financial literacy coming out of the pandemic. So, the awareness around the financial health started earlier for Gen Z than the millennials. Both generations, however, have been growing money, with millennials casting a wider net due to age, experience, and business goals. Starting a business is something that emerged quite strongly. These young Filipino, have very entrepreneurial inspiration, said Ms. Henson. It's because of that they're taking a long-term, well-balanced approach to not just saving but also growing their money to make sure that they can achieve those goals. So, pandemic has pushed Gen Zs and millennials to focus more on needs and wants, forcing everyone to take a stock of where they are financially and also wealth-wise to make sure that they build the necessary financial to be stable for a long run. The takeaway from the survey, according to Ms. Henson, is the importance of early financial literacy, where is so much information accessible to Gen Z. They really grew up in an early digitized world, so they have become aware much earlier. We need to engage with Gen Zs that are still in school because they're already showing interest, said by Bronte H. Laksamana. So, what he means by this is the earlier a child is taught financial literacy and learning about money and savings, uh, investments, the better money managers they will grow to be, or they will improve their financial literacy. So that's it. That sums it up. Thank you.
Hi sir, hi classmate. This is my report. Millennial spend 5 to 10 hours a day consuming numerous online content, and that's a modest estimate as digital natives. They are highly mobile generation who rely on technology to help them perform their jobs better. Example, yung mga nag-online business ngayon, importante talaga sa kanila yung teknolohiya para matulungan at magampanan nila yung kanilang mga trabaho. At isa pa, yung mga online selling. Kailangan mo talaga mag-spend ng time dito. Kaya yung mga millennial ngayon ay umaasa na sa teknolohiya upang magampanan nila yung kanilang mga trabaho. Yan po. And millennial don't just love consuming content but also sharing it within their circles. Whether it's eating, drinking out, or watching films, they like documenting their experience and letting other people know about it. Perhaps even get influenced by it on some level. Each real life activity is a digital activity and vice versa. Um, Tulad po ng pagbablog o pagpo-post sa social media na ibabahagi nila yung karanasan na nangyayari sa kanila. Kaya gusto nilang idokumento ito para maimpluwensyahan yung mga nanonood o nakakakita. Kaya karamihan na ngayon sa atin mga millennial na nagbo-vlog na upang maibaagi din o maipakita din nila yung karanasan o nangyayari sa kanilang buhay. Subalit, ang iba ay kung ano yung nakikita mo sa totoong buhay ay kabaliktaran, ay meron palang kabaliktaran. Millennials want to experience life the best way possible with their friends, and they are willing to pay for it. They like traveling and even view it as a necessity rather than a luxury. They would rather attend the actual concert than to buy the band's merchandise. They always crave new adventures and discoveries and want to put thrill in the mundanity of every day. Millennials are a generation who want to fully experience new, exciting excitings in their lives, always habitus multitaskers. Millennials desire to try as a new experiences at the same time as they possibly can effectively. Millennials are driven by the spiritual to succeed in learning something new. Not shocking, more than 8 in 10 millennials 82% attended or participated in a variety of the live experience in the past years, ranging from parties, concerts, festivals, performing arts and races, and them sports, and more so than other older generations are 70%. Millennial consumers appreciate brands that put value to their experience, something exotic, adventurous, memorable, and perhaps a little bit dangerous. An astounding 98% of participants in a survey conducted by Factory 360 admitted that they are more inclined to buy a product when they participated in an experiential campaign. The important is the brand and stores they purchase from are doing some good for the local community. Should be very careful about the value they expose, especially since millennials are an entirely entirely new breed when it comes to advocacy and social justice. And your brand can be pricier option and millennials will still make the purchase as long as they are confident in the quality of your product. Consistently good quality is one of the factors that makes millennial loyal to a brand. Fillenials like witty and thought-provoking content. They are just likely to share a branded post as they are to share a photo from a friend. They just have to find it a story they can relate to or even simply find funny. Kung ano daw yung gusto nilang i-post, it depends sa trait ng isang tao. Um, anong, ay, tulad ng eye-catching sa madla once na maganda yung hugot or nakakatawa yung content. Yun po. And just take a look at the hugot culture that has been making its rounds in brands who utilize heartbreaking but humorous one-liner to content easier and better with their mistake. Um, Example, tulad ng mga commercial sa TV. Kaya ginagawa nila yon para maipakita nila kung gaano ba ito ka-trusted at para mapadali sa kanilang markets. And this next page, ito yung mga example na may hugot pero nakakatawa. Sabi nga sa akin ni Carlos Sales na isa sa kaklase ko, mahal ko siya pero may mahal siyang iba. Isa din yan sa pwedeng i-example dahil depende yan kung ano yung trip o feelings ng isang tao. Do you think that millennials today are thinking more of venturing into a business or applying for a job? For me, it's good to venturing a business because most people want to become their own boss is the freedom, satisfaction, and flexibility it offers them. Every new business needs quality employees, but it can be challenging to attract the right talent to a startup. Having a step-by-step plan in a place can ensure a smooth onboarding process. Kaya, karamihan sa ngayon, mga millennial ay nakikipagsapalaran na magnegosyo at hindi na nag-apply ng trabaho para din sa kanilang sarili at nagkakaroon ng sariling estratehiya. From a millennial's point of view, how would you say that a post has a good content? Ganito po yun. 79% of millennials use social media more than once a day. They also divided their time between several different platforms rather than sticking to just one. This is good news for you because you've got option when it comes to where to spend your marketing dollars. And want people to know that we are doing something fun or doing something others would want to do. We want people to know that have a fun life even if it's just a normal life. We enjoy sharing things that we do, but sometimes we do things just to post it on social media.
Good afternoon, sir, and to my dear classmates. I am assigned to report from slides 34 to 38. So we are here from the top 5 traits of typical Fillenial. Do you think that Fillenials today are thinking more of venturing into a business or applying for a job? Dito, para sa akin sa panahon ngayon, mas iniisip ng mga millennials ngayon ang pag-a-apply ng trabaho kaysa sa pakikipagsapalaran sa negosyo. Dahil sa ngayong panahon ng pandemya, ang mga kabataan ay gumagawa ng paraan upang kumita ng pera and also on how they will survive in their everyday life. Compare in venturing to a business that you will need amount of money to start a business. From a millennial's point of view, how would you say that a post has a good content? From a millennial's point of view, I can say that a post has a good content if it has impact for the viewers that they can relate and they can get a lesson on what the post want to say. Halimbawa, ako ay nag-post tungkol sa kung paano ako nakapagtapos ng pag-aaral at kung ano ang mga bagay na ginawa ko upang malampasan ko ang mga pagsubok na ito. Masasabi natin na ang aking pinost ay maganda dahil nakapagbigay ako ng aral sa ibang tao. So, sa number 4 tayo. They have a selective attention span. O sa Tagalog ito ay piling tagal ng atensyon. In a study conducted by Kelton Research, millennial business professionals reported that they had increased attention span. However, they become more selective in the content they pay attention to. When selecting content to consume, millennials consider a solid narrative and the story behind the content. Video and animated visuals also help in keeping them engaged. Ang selective attention ay ang proseso ng pagdidirekta sa ating kamalayan sa mga nag-uugnay ng stimuli habang binabaliwala ang hindi nag-uugnay na stimuli sa kapaligiran. Ito ay isang mahalagang proseso dahil may limitasyon sa kung gaano karaming impormasyon ang maaaring iproseso sa isang partikular na oras. At ang pagpili ng atensyon ay nagbibigay daan upang ibigay ang mga hindi gaanong mahalagang detalye at tumuon sa kung ano ang mahalaga. Dito sa they had increased attention span, however they become more selective in the content they pay attention to. Ibig sabihin dito ay nadadagdagan ang kanilang attention span. Gayunpaman, sila ay naging mas mapili sa nilalaman na kanilang binibigyang pansin. Example dito ay listening to your favorite podcast while driving to work, having a conversation with a friend in a crowded place, reading your book on a public transport bus. Number 5. They go at their own pace. It means not to rush, but rather to find the speed at which you perform best. That speed may vary with different people. If there is no reason to complete at an exact time, then moving at your own pace may lead to a better result. Millennials live by their own terms. Ang mga millennials ngayon ay nabubuhay sa kung ano ang gusto nila at ginagawa nila, kung ano ang nais nila. Sila ay bumabatay na sa kanilang mga kagustuhan. They solve their own problems and they make their own decisions in their life. And they made for themselves and don't like anything that hinders their creativity. Millennials love their individuality. Brands can knock on this creative sensibility through personalized or out of the box ads with a powerful, socially relevant message that makes it easy to forget their ads in the first place. Dito daw ang mga millennials ay ah, may sarili ng mga kagustuhan at ito ay ginagawa nila. Hindi na sila bumabatay sa ibang tao. Sila ngayon ay nabubuhay sa kung ano ang gusto nila. Sila ay may mga sarili ng pag-iisip kaya sila ay nabubuhay sa kung ano ang gusto nila. What does living life on your own terms mean? For me, living life on your own terms means having a purposeful life. It includes having the freedom and flexibility to do what matters most to you. This is important because how happy and fulfilled you feel about your work and life affects not only you but also the people around you. The phrase life on your own terms can and will mean different things to each individual. For our purposes, though, we'll define it is the following. Life on your own terms means the ability to live life that is meaningful and fulfilling to you. It means being able to enjoy quality time with your family while also having a purpose-filled career that provides financial freedom. It also means having the time freedom and flexibility to pursue the things that matter most to you, whether that is travel, volunteering, fitness, or any number of other hobbies or interests. So example dito is staying away from toxic people because we know that they can bring us down. They're the ones constantly pointing out our faults in ideas at work, or the so-called friends who try to bring us down because they hate seeing us to succeed. Next slide tayo. Why does living life on your own terms matter? Many people go through life without a purpose or plan. They feel stuck in their jobs, believing that the only way to provide for their family is to work long hours. Some people are so overwhelmed by the bills they have to pay that they have no extra money for the things they truly enjoy. Others are working jobs that they simply don't enjoy, feeling unhappy each and every day. Many moms make the decisions to stay at home and raise their children, but they don't feel fulfilled because they aren't using their professional talents and skills. Why does living on your own life matters? Because dito ay kapag mabuhay tayo sa sarili natin, wala tayong ibang pinakikisamahang tao na wala namang naitutulong sa atin. Mas magandang mabuhay ng ayon sa kagustuhan natin dahil nailalayo tayo sa stressful na buhay at masaya tayo kapag tayo lang mag-isa. Thank you.
Good afternoon, sir, and to all my classmates. I am here to present my report, which is the topic about the challenges of the Fillenials. I am assigned to this topic, which the slide 39 to 43, for me to discuss, and now I will begin my report. Why Fillenials differ the way they think? Consumer surveys indicate that people between the age of 23 and 38 have different goals than those of their parents. According to the surveys of consumers, ang mga nasa edad na 23 hanggang 38 ay may iba't ibang layunin o pangarap sa buhay kaysa sa kanilang mga magulang. Dahil sa mga pagkakaiba o panibagong mga bagong henerasyon ay mas naiiba ang mga pangarap sa buhay ng mga millennial kaysa sa mga magulang natin. At dahil sa mga bagong teknolohiya gaya ng gadgets, nagkakaroon tayo ng mga impormasyon na nakukuha at mas lalo tayong natututo sa paggamit ng mga ito. At dahil sa pakikipag-communicate o pakikipag-entertain, pakikipag-ugnayan natin sa kapwa natin, ay mas lalo tayong nagiging independent or napapalakas natin ang ating mga sarili. Kaysa sa ating mga magulang, limitado ang mga teknolohiya pa. At ang iba ay hindi gumagamit ng mga teknolohiya dahil sa hirap sa buhay. Kaya ang iba sa ating ngayon ng mga millennials ay nakakaangat sa buhay at nag-iiba ang mga pangarap ng millennials kaysa sa mga magulang natin. Dahil na din sa ating mga karanasan sa buhay, ay mas na-motivate tayo na palakpasin o paunlarin ang ating mga sarili. Financial security and peace of mind remain prioritized, but things like a steady job and home ownership are not as important to millennials as to earlier generation. Ang sabi dito, ang mga seguridad ng pananalapi at kapayapaan ng isip ng mga millennials ay priority pa. Pero ang mga steady job o mga steady job at pagkakaroon ng sariling bahay ay hindi importante sa mga millennials sa ngayon henerasyon. Dito naman, sa tingin ko, oo, mas prioritize nila ang pera at kapayapaan ng isip kaysa sa mga bagay na may sariling steady job and pagkakaroon ng sariling bahay. Ang iba kasi na millennials ay umaasa sa magulang o nakatira pa lamang kahit na may mga pamilya na. Kaya mas prioridad nila ang pera dahil sa mga hirap siguro na nararanasan ngayon ng mga millennials, gaya ng pagkakaroon ng maagang pamilya, nagkakaroon ng prioridad sa pananalapi at kapayapaan ng isip kaysa sa sariling bahay. Walang sapat na pera, kaya hindi makabili ng bahay, kaya mas prioridad nila ang pera dahil di pa nila kaya na magtrabaho o magkaroon ng sariling bahay. Instead emotional needs rank higher on millennials list than do material needs. Ang ibig sabihin nito instead of emotional needs rank higher on millennials less than two material needs. Mas kailangan ng emosyonal o kasayahan ng mga millennials ngayon kaysa sa mga material na bagay. For example, over a third, 36% of millennial survey respondent state feeling happy as a goal, and 33% say it's essential to have the freedom to focus on individual wishes and needs. Maraming mga millennial na nagsasabing masaya na magkaroon ng pagkakaroon ng masaya. At mayroon namang mga respondent na millennials na nagsasabing ang material na bagay ay importante sa kanila. They focus on individual wishes and needs, or gusto ng mga kabataan na iba na umangat sa buhay. Kaya according to the survey of consumer, ang mga millennial ay mas marami ang gusto sa masaya kaysa sa mga bagay na panandalian lamang. Marketers trying to reach this age group, which makes up about a quarter of the current global population, need to understand the differences between this generation and the ones before it. It's challenging to craft a marketing message if you don't know your audience. Sabi dito, ang mga consumer surveys ay nahihirapan sa pag-survey o pananaliksik sa mga bagay na pananaliksik sa mga bagay na naiiba sa ngayon at sa older generation. It's challenging sa marketing kung hindi daw kilala ng hindi kilala ang mga mananaliksik ang kanilang audience, gaya ng millennials at generation. Sinusurvey ngayon kung ano ang mga pagkakaiba ng new generation and older generation. Dito naman sa next page, why Fillenials differ the way they think. Most millennials came of age around the time of the global economic recession that began in 2007. They've known financial discord most of their adult lives, so millennials feel that they deal with different challenges than their parents did. Noong 2007 ay according to survey, maraming mga kabataan o millennials na nakapaloob sa 2007 na ang financial discord o mga financial noon ng mga magulang natin ay nahirapan sa pag-manage, kaya ang belief ng mga millennials ay naniniwala sila na hindi kaya nila sa pag-manage ng pera, kaya siguro nagkakaiba ang paniniwala o mga challenges ng mga millennials. It's important to understand those challenges when marketing to millennials who might want to buy home or drive a nice car, but feel like that's out of their reach. Messaging must match with their mindset, and millennials are far less concerned with material possessions than their predecessors were. Ang sabi dito, mas importante na maintindihan ang mga challenges o mga hamon sa buhay ng mga millennials o Filipino Millennials, gaya ng pagkakaroon ng sariling bahay o mga bagong sasakyan. But feel like that's out of their reach. Sabi daw dito, mahirap daw sa mga millennials sa ngayon ang nahihirapan magkaroon ng sariling bahay at sariling kotse dahil sa hirapan o walang sapat na pera, kaya hindi makabili nito. Kaya hindi makabili ng sariling bahay o kotse dahil sa nakadepende pa rin sa kanilang mga magulang. Instead, their focus on concrete, practical, and lasting ways to boost their happiness and that of their loved ones, not in physical goods that might give them short-lived pleasure. Messaging should thus appeal to emotion, as emotional success is a more honest form of success to millennials. Instead na dapat nakapokus sa konkreto at praktikal na bagay at pinapalakas natin ang ating mga kasiyahan o pagmamahal sa ating mga tao or loved ones, not in physical goods that might give them short-lived pleasure. Ang ibig sabihin nito, messaging should be thus appeal to emotion, as emotional success is more honest form success to millennials. Mas marami magiging successful sa buhay sa mga millennials ang pagkakaroon ng emotional para umangat sa buhay. Why millennials differ the way they think? Almost half of 47% of millennials believe their dream is different from their parents because social norms have changed. Dito nga, sabi ko kanina, nagkakaiba ang mga paniniwala o mga pangarap sa buhay ng mga millennials kaysa sa kanilang mga magulang dahil sa mga pamantayan natin dahil sa pagbabago ng lipunan o ekonomiya. Halimbawa, sa mga bagong teknolohiya, mas madami ang mga makakaangat sa buhay kaysa sa older generation. There's less of an expectation to graduate from school and work your way up the corporate ladder for 30 plus years. There also this pressure to stay at home and start a family. Those things are not automatic success anymore. Hindi daw magiging masasabi na ang isang tao ay magiging successful pag hindi ka magiging hindi ka makakapagtrabaho ng mahigit na 30 plus years. Also, this pressure to stay at home at start a family o ang pagkakaroon ng pamilya. So, because nowadays, more millennials have own families. Hindi sila nakakapagtapos ng pag-aaral. Kaya nasasabi na ang pagkakaroon ng pamilya at paglayo o hindi maka-stay sa bahay ay hindi masasabi na magiging successful ng isang tao. Another 39% of millennials believe that technological development over the years has contributed to widely different possibilities for success and how to achieve it. The internet has changed the way people work. Video streaming has changed the way entertainment is consumed. Social media networks have altered how news is delivered. Millennials are the first generation to exist in an online world. Sabi dito na 39% of millennials ay naniniwala sa makabagong teknolohiya. Dahil sa mga contribute na naambag nito, possibilities na magkakaroon ng successful sa buhay o magiging successful sa buhay o makakamit ng mga millennials ang mga pangarap nila. The internet changed the way people work. Nababago ng internet ang kilos o trabaho ng isang Pilipino o millennials. Dahil sa control na ngayon ng makabagong teknolohiya o mga gadgets ang mga tao o mga Filipino millennials dahil nga sa halimbawa sa pagka-addict sa social media, Facebook, ML, online games, napapabago ang trabaho o kilos ng isang tao. At ito ay nasabi na ang mga millennials ay tinatawag na online world sa ngayon dahil sa nakokontrol na nga ang mga millennials ng mga bagong teknolohiya. Dito naman sa next page, why Fillenials differ the way they think. Not only is the world different now, it's also viewed through an entirely different lens by millennials. It's a generation that consumes marketing, but it must be on their terms. These new social norms must present themselves in the message, and the message itself needs to be available when, where, and how millennials want to consume content, not just how the marketer wants to deliver it. Not only is the world different now, hindi lamang sa mundo ay naiiba ngayon. Ito ay tinitingnan din sa pamamagitan ng isang ganap na naiibang lens ng mga millennials. Ito din ay isang henerasyon na kumusumo ng marketing. Ngunit ito ay dapat na kanilang mga tuntunin. Ang mga bagong pamantayang panlipunan na ito ay dapat ipakita ang kanilang mga sarili sa mensahe. Dahil napakahirap sa mga mensahe na kung kailan magiging available ang mga millennials sa pagkakaroon ng pag-survey. Saan at sabi dito, when, where, and how millennials want to consume content. Kailangan maging available kung kailan, saan, at paano gustong ubusin ng mga millennials ang nilalaman. Hindi lang kung paano ito gustong ihatid ng marketer. Marketing has always been about leading consumers to where they already want to go. It's the same thing with millennials, but it's important to remember where they came from as well as where they want to go are different from past generation. In other words, millennials are original, which can be challenging but also existing, truth-provoking, and enlivening. Ang mga marketing daw ay palaging tungkol sa pag-aakay sa mga mamimili sa kung saan nila gustong pumunta. Ito ay pareho sa mga millennial, ngunit mahalagang tandaan kung saan silang nanggaling, pati na rin kung saan nila gustong pumunta ay naiiba sa mga nakaraang henerasyon. Sa madaling salita, orihinal ang mga millennial na maaaring maging hamon ngunit kapanahbik din na kakapukaw ng pag-iisip at nagbibigay buhay. This last slide, what is your idea about this seemingly opposite thought? Financial security and peace of mind remain prioritized, but things like a steady job and home ownership are not as important to millennials as to earlier generations. For me, this thought ay nasabi ko kanina, ang seguridad sa pananalapi at peace of mind, isipan ng kapayapaan ng isip ng isang millennial ay prioritize ngayon kaysa sa pagkakaroon ng sariling bahay at pagkakaroon ng steady job. Dahil sa ibang kabataan ay nakadepende pa rin sa sa kanilang mga magulang. Mas importante na sa kanila ang seguridad ng pera kaysa sa pagkakaroon ng sariling bahay, pagkakaroon ng magandang sasakyan. Siguro sa financial security ay nakatuon sila dahil maraming mga kabataan ngayon ang nahihirapan dahil sa maagang pagkakaroon ng sariling pamilya. Kaya nasasabi dito na hindi prioritize ang pagkakaroon ng bahay at sasakyan dahil sa hirap sa buhay ngayon, lalo na pandemic. Kung mayroon kang sariling pamilya, hindi mo na maiisip na bumili ng bagong bahay at mag-aarang sasakyan dahil inisip mo na prioritize mo na ang pamilya mo. Say you have 100,000, what will you do with the money? For me, ang gagawin ko sa pera ay mag-ipon dahil nga sa nararanasan natin o hindi natin alam kung ano ang mangyayari sa atin sa buhay. Kaya gusto kong ipunin na lamang ang 100,000 kaysa sa ipambili ng mga material na bagay o panandaliang kasiyahan lamang. Upang pag may kung magkakaroon man ng mga sakuna gaya ng pandemic ay mayroon ka makukuha ng panggastos. Ganun. Is this true emotional needs rank higher on millennials this than do material needs? Why or why not? Totoo ba ito? Para sa akin, hindi. Mas prioritize sa tingin ko ang ng mga millennials ang material na bagay. Kasi nowadays maraming mga kabataan ang malakas ang pangarap, mataas ang pangarap, at maraming kabataan ang mayroong trabaho. Kaya dahil sa kakaroon ng magandang trabaho ay nagkakaroon tayo ng mga material na bagay dahil sa nabibili natin ito. Mas gusto ng mga sa akin mas gusto ko ngayon ang material na bagay siguro. Because sa mga millennials ngayon, mas sa tingin ko mas prioridad nila ang pagkakaroon ng material na bagay kaysa sa emotional o panandaliang kasiyahan lamang. Pagkakaroon ng emotional. Mas maraming mga millennials ang nakatuon sa mga material needs. Kasi nabibili nila ang gusto nilang bilhin sa buhay. And that's all. Thank you.
So, andito na po tayo sa challenges of a typical Fillenial. Filipino Millennials and Generation Z have become more conscious about their finances as the COVID-19 pandemic continues to affect incomes and livelihoods, according to study. It showed that the top concern of the millennials, 25 to 40 years old, and Gen Zs, 15 to 24 years old, during the pandemic is running out of money. Other stressors include getting sick, their own death, or that of a family member, declining mental health, and debt. So, sinasabi dito, ayon sa pag-aaral ng mga Pilipino at yung mga Generation Z ay may kamalayan sa kanilang pananalapi habang ang pandemya ay nakakaapekto sa kita at pagkakayan. Ang maubusan ng pera sa gitna ng pandemya, pinag-aalahan katulad naming mga Gen Zs at mga Millennials. Ang iba na pinag-iistresan naman ay yung mga bagay na magkakasakit sila sa gitna ng pandemic at yung kanilang kamatayan o isa sa family member nila. At pagbaba ng mental health na nagreresulta ng anxiety o kaya depression. At yung iba naman ay yung mga utang nila. So,
A monthly budget is followed by 75% of those surveyed, with 87% making sure that they don't live beyond their means. On the other hand, 77% said that they prioritize spending more on needs than wants as the pandemic continues. So, dito, mas inuuna nilang kanilang pangangailangan kaysa sa gusto nila habang nagpapatuloy itong pandemic. Halimbawa, mas uunahin ko yung kailangan namin dito sa bahay, katulad ng pagkain namin pang araw-araw at mga mask, kaysa sa mga pansariling kagustuhan ko. Ito yung parang sinasabi ko dito sa ito yung parang sinasabi dito sa statement. So dito po tayo sa next slide. Even before the outbreak of the coronavirus pandemic, more Filipino millennials were already feeling anxious and stressed compared to their global peers. But they are choosing to focus on the positive aspects of the current health crisis and are already taking action to improve the world and their own lives, according to a new survey released locally by Deloitte Philippines. Di- Dito sa survey na ito, na-reveal na ano? Survey na ito na bago pa man sumiklab ang pandemya ay maraming Pilipino na mga millennials ang nakakaramdam ng pagkabalisa at nai-stress kumpara sa mga kapantay nila sa buong mundo. Pero pinipili pa din na mag-focus sa positibong aspeto at kumikilos din sila para mapabuti ang mundo, lalo na rin ang kanilang mga buhay. Now it's on ninth year, the 2020 Deloitte Global Millennial Survey is an annual look to the views of millennial and Gen Z respondents of a variety of topics, such as role of business in society, field work was society, and the issues of mental health and stress. For the year survey, fieldwork was conducted on November 2019 to January 2020, gathering responses from 13,715 millennials across 43 countries and 4,711 Generation Z respondents from 20 countries. In the Philippines, 300 millennials were interviewed for the survey. The survey revealed that 57% of Filipino millennials feel anxious or stressed all or most of the time, compared to 44% of their peers globally. Top, stretch, top stressors being their current financial situation and concern to the welfare of their family. Di- Dagdag pa sa ginawa ng survey ng Deloitte Philippines, 57% nga ng mga Pilipino na millennials ang nakakaramdam ng pagka-stress o pagkabalisa, kumpara ito sa 44% na porsyento ng kanilang kapantay sa buong mundo. Nangungunang stressors dito ay ang kasalukuyang sitwasyon sa pananalapi at yung pag-aalala nila sa kapakanan ng kanilang pamilya. So, next slide, which is slide number 47. For this fraction of Philippines, 65% reported that concerns about the welfare of their family contribute a lot of feelings of stress, followed by their physical health, 54%, their long-term financial future, which is 53%, their day-to-day finances, 51%, and their job or career prospects, 47%. Further, 41% of Filipino millennials admitted that they missed paying or having fixed payment in the last 6 months, compared to just 29% millennials globally. So dito, 41 ay dito 65% ay nag-aalala tungkol sa kapakanan ng kanilang pamilya na nagdadagdagan ng marami na stress. Sinusundan pa ito ng kanilang physical health na meron ngang 44%. Tapos yung pangmatagalan nilang panalalaki, yung parang savings nila sa pang-araw-araw nilang gastusin, parang ganun yung kailangan nilang mag-ipon para dun sa future din nila. Ito ay 53%. Yung kanilang day-to-day finances ay 51. Ito yung mga araw-araw nilang gastusin sa kanilang bahay. At ang kanilang mga prospect sa trabaho o career nila ay 47%. At ang, at ang 41 mga Pilipino na millennials, inamin na dito na hindi nga sila nakakabayad o nakaka-fixed payment sa nakalipas na 6 na buwan kumpara ito sa 29% na mga millennials sa buong mundo. Yan na po. At punta na po tayo sa next slide which is 48. Sa question, do you already have future plans? How do you go along with it? Which is, yes, I have future plans. I go along with it by working it, studying hard, and praying. And question number 2, are you saving for your future plan or plans? How many percent do you allot with your future plans? For me, and for now, I can't say because I buy it with my daily needs. The next question, why is it important to think about the future and act on it now? Why is it is important? Because it's what you can have in the future and you needed to do it now because you can't achieve it when you don't work from it now. And the last question, do you have any regrets about not acting on a plan before? Yes, and I missed a lot of opportunities because I didn't act it. Then so now I'm working on it so that I will not miss a thing or regret in today. That's all.
Advantage of being Fillenial in the Philippines. Number 1. The advantage of being millennial in the Philippines, they are technology proficiency. We can't deny the facts Filipino are proficient when it comes to technology. 2. Millennial people have higher knowledge of education and better mindset in their future. They are considered are more educated or learner, people who has better mindset in the near future. Millennial people are multitasking and know what's the latest and updates in the Philippines. Kaya din nilang makialam sa kahit anong issue o updates with the help of technology. Disadvantage of being Millennial in the Philippines. Millennial people disadvantage are their attitude. They are too liberate that sometimes they forgot to be nice and proper in some circumstances. Millennial now are too aggressive. The Filipino youth who are called millennials sometimes are too stubborn. Filipino millennials are very engaged in using gadgets and modern technology, that sometimes they feel that without modern technology, they become nothing. Minsan kaming mga millennials ay nagiging careless kami sa paggamit ng technology without taking for consideration and risk or consequence. Yes, it's true that seldom we're aggressive in using technology na kung minsan inaabuso ang community standard ng social media platform. Like those spreading fake news, unfortunately, we're too dependent in it. It seems like we can't live without a feeling like I am technology itself. I am nothing, I am useless. without it. Advantage and disadvantage of being Fillenial in the Philippines. Filipino who are called millennial is those who update in social media and very dependent on modern technology. They are good at copying or following what is the latest in social media. Some Filipino millennials are spending more luxury things than thinking about what is important than what is not important to their needs. These millennials are more involved with the issue what is going on the Philippines and know more about what is true in politics. They're not ignorant people compared to before. You can talk, communicate with them with their best knowledge in every issue that Philippines have now. The latest news on what is demand now up to the newest technology that will be released. When it comes to Philippine entertainment, they spend more time to reading it or watching it on TV and YouTube. As I said lately, Filipino are proficient in technology. Mas aware na tayo sa mga nangyayari, lalo na nasa politika. Mahilig din tayong magbabad sa mga Philippine entertainment show or even social media application. Millennial people are those who shop online and make their time more interesting and useful. There are also millennial people who work online while staying in their house and do their obligation as a housewife. These women are the millennial with their purpose to help their husband in terms of financial stability. Even if they stayed at home, they still think about how they can spend their time to make an income by using the internet and social media. Ang mga millennial ay yung mga tao nakaka-adapt and can use technology including social media network and website in extensive ways. But for the life purposes, halimbawa lamang ito ay online shopping, work from home, or other life purposes that related in social media. Meaning, millennial people are those who can use their time effectively with the use of social media. There is no age for being a millennial. You can too old or too young, and even a child can be called a millennial. It depends on how a person carries himself and show the world how they can be a part of the millennial Philippines. This is how they know that they can be updated on using modern technology and be smart on carrying themselves. Children can also be a millennial. They know how, when, and where to use some modern technology and gadgets by themselves. They can also communicate well and proper to old and share some ideas of what they know around them. Children now are more talented compared to before. They can easily relate to any topics that they can hear, and they are fast learners. Technically, the people that lives between 80-90s are called millennials, and the generation today who happened to born 2000 are those who are called Generation Z. Pero sa panahon ngayon, kahit sino pwede tawagin millennial people. As long as nakakasabay ka sa teknolohiya kasabay ng mga kabataan. Ngayon, which means nakaka-adapt sila sa makabagong panahon at teknolohiya no matter what their age are and still they can participate effectively and learn to engage and intervene regarding technological evolution. Millennial kids also have their own talent and skill. They can easily learn how to use some gadgets on their own. Watching YouTube and video games are on their favorite things to do at home. They can easily understand what their parents taught them. Now at this modern day and at this modern technology, being a millennial is what we follow and what we need to be. An example of this is presenting a millennial kid. If your children are millennial, you need to be one of them so that you also know what your children like and what they doing on their tables. Millennial parents must know what should be the top priority of their children. Their education, their attitude, their capabilities, their talent, and the skill of their children should be the top priorities. They should support their children's skill and be guided in what is wrong and what is important to their children's future. Millennial people, particularly those kids, are fast learner and more adaptive compared to elder individuals. That's why they need a parental guidance in using of it because there are many information they can absorb in social media and many of it are non-reliable information.
One major dilemma that a lot of millennials are currently facing has something to do with what inside their wallets. Spending habits, these are the magic words that will soon become one of the younger generation's toughest problems. Of course, we can blame ourselves for blowing our paychecks in pursuit of a new pair of shoes, a new wardrobe, or a round trip ticket to anywhere in the world just to play, eat, pray, and love. We millennials have unconsciously adopted the YOLO mindset, or the you only live once, and it's slowly killing us. While rewarding yourself after a month work of hard work is good, most of us forget to see the bigger picture. Saving is crucial. If you feel like you're always crawling a week before payday to make ends meet, chances are your chan- chances are your spending habits are to be blamed. Financial capability is the opportunity to put knowledge into practice. Say Dr. Terry Friedline, assistant professor at the University of Kansas School of Social Welfare. Truth be told, most millennials are fortunate to get a college degree, so we ought to be smarter with our choices, even financially choices. And it's not difficult to save money. If our parent did, why can't we? Based on the observation, millennials has 49% misconduct when they are in a workplace, the highest of all generations. Misconduct are the unnecessary action of a worker when he or she is a workplace. The types of misconduct observed included personal business on company time, 26%, lying to employees, 22%, abusive behavior, 21%, company resource abuse, 21%, and discrimination is 18%. Of those millennials who observe unethical behavior, 67% of them reported the misconduct, which included stealing or thief, 74%, false flying expense report, 71%, good services fail to meet expectation or specification, 69%, false flying timesheets or hour work, 68%, and offering improper payment in to public officials is 67%. All age groups tend to inform their supervisors whom they know well and can trust about misconduct they observe. Only a small percentage of workers went outside their organization with their initial compliance. It doesn't surprise me that a high percentage of millennials consider certain behavior in the workplace to be ethical, including using social network to find out about the company's competitors, 37%, friending a client or a customer on a social network, 36%, uploading personal photos on a company network, 26%, keeping copies of confidential documents, 22%, working less to compensate for cuts in benefits or pay, 18%, buying personal items using a company credit card, 15%, blogging or tweeting negatively about the company, 14%, taking a copy of work software home for personal use, 13%. Most importantly, the report states that the younger workers are significantly more willing to ignore the presence of misconduct if they think that their behavior will help to save their jobs. Willingness to let the ends justify the means seems to have a strong inverse correlation with age, according to the report, and this is what concerns me the most. The utilitarian ethics of the ends justifies the means is most closely associated with an utilitarian analysis of harm versus benefits. If the benefits exceed the harm to others, then that individual might rationalize unethical behavior as benefiting more than its harm. A means versus ends reasoning can lead to covering up unethical behavior in the workplace, covering up one's personal wrongdoing, and rationalizing unethical behavior as somehow justified by the circumstances. The workplace of tomorrow will become an unhealthy environment if each person is out for themselves regardless of the consequences of their behavior on others. What do you mean by means and reasoning? So the basic idea is to give an agent. One is to representation of goal or the intention to achieve. Representation actions it can perform. Representation of the environment and have it generate a plan to achieve the goal. Essentially, this is automatic programming.